welcome back to Opinions Are Like. I'm joined over here with my two very, unfortunately, opinionated usual suspects, Adam McIntosh and Eric Wilcox. You guys are matching. You look lovely today.
Now, sort of.
Just go with the flow. All right. Well, it's election season, and it's also local election season. Now, we don't usually focus on local elections in this area because, well, quite frankly, it's Eugene. Who cares? However, there's a state senate running between Jim Torrey and Vicky Walker. And the other day, I happened to catch one of the commercials for Vicky Walker against Jim Torrey. Now, I'm usually used to these anti-negative ads, like they happen all the time.
Sure you are.
People eat babies, all this stuff. But this one perplexed me because if I'm not mistaken, I want you guys' opinion, this is for the state senate, correct?
Yes.
Okay, local politics dealing with Oregon, correct?
Right.
Okay. Then why was the first thing on that ad, Jim Torrey supports the war in Iraq?
Because Oregon is a very important portion of the war in Iraq.
Really?
Because when we were told after September 11th to wrap our houses up with duct tape and plastic sheeting, that means they were going to come here.
Oh.
And apparently they're going to come to Eugene. So he's supporting it, and that's good for Eugene.
But if I'm not mistaken, the Oregon Senate has nothing to do with whether or not we're going to leave Iraq, stay in Iraq, or any, correct. They're not making any important.
No.
So this is useless information that I don't need to know about for choosing my senator for.
Yeah, I caught that commercial as well, and no, that has no bearing on the state at all.
Right.
I don't know what she was trying to. I mean, she, obviously she's trying to get the sympathy vote for, her followers and any left-wing Democrat or anybody anti-war, not just Democrats, but anybody anti-war. Obviously he supports the war. Well, he's going to plunge Oregon into some financial war or something.
That's because we're just going to have to attack Northern California if Jim Torrey gets elected.
Yep, he's going to invade.
He's going to invade Northern California.
And then we got to worry about Northern Idaho.
Yeah.
You don't want it, trust me. I have family there. No, this irritates me for several reasons. First of all, the first reason is I don't care what his views on Iraq is. I don't care how much money he gave George W. Bush. This has nothing to do with the job that he is going to do in that Senate. Okay,
right.
So it's just pandering. The other thing that bugs me is that Democrats, on a constant basis, are whining and complaining about how partisan the Republicans are. If this was a commercial where Jim Torrey was telling everybody how democratic or how Vicky Walker is, they'd be the first one to jump back on this.
Oh, yeah.
But now they're throwing this in. It's hypocritical, it's a double standard, and it's retarded, especially for a guy like Torrey, who the mayor was the mayor of this town, so he was somewhat of a divisive guy. But he was a guy who got reelected as a Republican 2 times in Eugene, which is no small feat.
Yeah. If people don't know what Eugene's like, then I mean, having a Republican get elected to anything is next to impossible.
Right.
Yeah.
And to be elected twice is.
It's nuts, but it hit me the wrong way because what I also found interesting about the commercial is that she was telling us about how, well, Jim Torrey is openly admitted he's a Republican, correct?
Yeah.
The rest of the commercial was like this. Jim's voted Republican. Jim's given money to Republicans. Yes, Jim is a Republican.
And
Jim got
also,
money from the
and he
Republicans.
also got money and supports George W. Bush.
Right.
Which apparently is equivalent to, I'm a Satan worshiper and love to feast on small children.
Yes, but we've seen that. Okay, in fairness, we've seen this before. We've seen this with Clinton.
Yeah.
We've seen this every single time. And every time
Clinton, Kerry, Gore, it's been
everybody.
But
every time there seems to be about halfway through any presidency, there's a midterm election, and it is like attack that president, no matter what, whether he did a good job, bad job, or whatever. And the main goal is to attack that president on the other side to try to get the House or any of these seats over. And this is tried and true. I mean, the Republicans did this with Clinton. They're doing this now with Bush. Why do you, number one, think it's so effective? I mean, because it obviously works.
I don't think it is effective. I think people, well, A, they're not getting the voter turnout that they want.
Right.
B, the people who are voting are going to be voting that way anyway. I don't think this kind of attack ad is slandering or slanting anybody in one direction or another.
Do you think it's motivating?
For the most part.
Do you think I think what it does is it motivates people who might not vote to vote. It's not going to change
I think that's
anybody's mind.
their view is that they're trying to motivate their base to go out
Yeah,
and
because
vote.
You're not, I mean, somebody, if I was, pro Tory and I see this ad, and if I was inclined to believe anything like that, that wouldn't sway me. Oh, hey, he's a Republican.
Dear
what
God.
the hell was I thinking voting for, people who voted for Tory know Tory's a Republican.
Right.
They're probably going to vote for him again.
This is just making sure everybody fills out their voter's ballot. Everybody's scared to death who might be sitting at home, I might not, oh God, Jim Tory's a Republican and he's going to send us to Iraq, and to pull it out and basically punch all the holes.
And it's people,
Democrats.
and I think it's people who do this, both parties.
Yeah, both parties.
Who then mobilize the forces to go out and try to get people signed up to vote.
Right.
And you see a lot more Democrats doing that than non-Democrats, but you do get that both ways.
You get it both ways. The one thing we've talked about on this show and many more times is that I always love seeing these commercials about rock the vote or you decide, and I always love how they pretend to be nonpartisan, and these things are never nonpartisan. They're usually backed by one of the parties to manipulate the vote.
Exactly. And the reason that they've got to do that, though, is you have to get that base out, because in American politics today, it is the base.
Yeah.
I mean, America is so divided that if your base doesn't vote for you, nobody else is going to.
Yeah.
But how radical is this base? I mean, we're talking about the tactics that they use are tactics that are being used for like absolute scare tactics. And if this base is so radical, shouldn't they be like voting all the time anyways? I mean, if they're so hardcore, wouldn't you think that they're your automatic? I mean, it's like the diehard wrestling fan. Everybody has their diehard fans that you can guarantee will always be there. So if they're the hardcore radical base, why do you need to scare them to go to the polls? You know what I mean? I mean, we're always hearing that. We're always hearing, well, they got to get the church base out to vote for the Republicans, or we got to get the, if they are so hardcore, if they are so radical, I would think those would be the first people that would always vote, and they would always be out there.
We're a society that doesn't care.
Yeah.
I mean, back, way back when voter turnout was more towards, the 50% mark. I mean, what is it? 25% now?
Yeah.
They still had the voting drives and the campaigns and stuff, but nothing like it is now, because people just don't care. They just it's obviously somebody else's problem because it's not affecting them right then. So
people nowadays there's enough people out there that they just don't imagine that one vote counts.
Right.
But if you look at the last couple of presidential elections that have been decided by such a small margin, just a couple more people coming out to vote can shift the election completely. But I think people still don't realize how close politics is right now.
But if you're in a party system, wouldn't you love the fact that there's low voter turnout? I think if you're a Republican or a Democrat, don't you want? I mean, I know they'll never ever say this, but don't you want the smallest group possible to try to manipulate?
To try to manipulate, yes. Yeah. But I think their hearts are in the right place. They want more people to vote, but the way they're doing it, they're getting less people to vote because they keep, the mudslinging,
right.
And people just get tired of the mudslinging, and people don't care. My vote doesn't count. All that stuff there's so much more of that kind of crap going on than what they actually want.
Right.
And for some reason, I think they're going about, doing all these kind of negative ad campaigns, thinking that, we will influence them sometime down the road.
Right. But it has to be, I mean, when they're making these ads, like the Jim Tory ad that they made, okay? You cannot tell me that why they were designing this ad, the one thing they had to be thinking was, well, these people are stupid, and we better hope that God people are stupid, otherwise this ad will work. I mean, there's no way that you can make an ad like that Jim Tory ad, or a lot of these negative ads, and not be condescending towards either your base or the people that you consider your constituency, because most of the time negative ads are very condescending because they are meant to manipulate. So, I mean, you say they're sincere, but I don't think so. I looked at that ad, and there's no way Vicky Walker sat back and go, boy, I really respect the people, and I hope they goddamn.
I think deep down they want that to be the eventual outcome.
Right.
I don't think she's sitting back saying, hey, that's, look at us, giving ourselves a pat on the back. I don't think that's what's going through their mind. I think that's what they want to be the ultimate goal.
Alrighty, we'll be back in a second. We're going to discuss a little thing about abortion, which always gets the kids happy and doesn't piss anybody off ever. Nope. We'll be back in a second for more Tales from the Anti-Man.